I didn't become a developer because I was smart, or gifted, or because I was somehow destined for this. I became a developer because I hit a point in my life where staying the same hurt more than changing. This is the truth about how I actually made it. There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas, just the real, unpolished story that, for a long time, I was too ashamed to tell. I remember this one night so clearly. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, just staring at my phone, looking at my bank account. The number on the screen wasn't just low. It was the kind of number that makes your chest tighten, that makes it hard to breathe. I felt so incredibly behind. It was like I was stuck in quicksand while everyone else was running laps around me. Everyone had a plan, a career, a future. Everyone except me. I felt lost, adrift, and completely invisible. And that night, in the quiet of my room, I whispered a sentence I had never dared to say out loud before. I can keep living like this. It wasn't a moment of inspiration, it was a moment of pure desperation. It was the sound of hitting rock bottom. I didn't find coding because I was this intellectually curious person searching for a new hobby. I found it because I was desperate. That same night, I literally Googled the phrase, "how to get a good job without a degree." I scrolled past a bunch of options that didn't feel right, and then I saw it: coding, web development, software engineering. The articles promised a future that seemed impossible: a stable career, good pay, a skill that was in demand. I didn't feel a surge of excitement. Honestly, I felt skepticism. I thought, me, a coder? There's no way. But then I looked around my room, at my life, and I had a sobering thought: what else was there? So I decided to try it, not because I believed in myself, not at all, but because I had absolutely nothing else to lose. The beginning was a complete disaster. It was messy, it was confusing, and it was deeply humbling. I'd watched these online tutorials, and the instructors would make it look so easy. I'd follow along, nodding my head, feeling like I was getting it. Then, the moment I tried to write a single line of code on my own, my mind would go blank. I forgot everything. I spent weeks just copying and pasting code from tutorials without having any real understanding of what it was doing. I was just going through the motions, and every single error message that popped up on my screen felt like a personal attack. It felt like the computer itself was confirming my deepest fear, whispering back at me, "See, you're not smart enough for this. You should just quit." But every day, for some reason I still don't fully understand, I opened that laptop again. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was that whisper from rock bottom, reminding me I couldn't go back. Learning to code is lonely. It's an isolation that's hard to describe to people who haven't gone through it. Your friends would call, asking you to go out, and you'd have to say no. Again, they don't get it. They don't understand why you're choosing to spend your Friday night staring at a screen full of weird symbols instead of being with them. Your family, with the best of intentions, would ask questions like, "So, are you still doing that little computer thing?" And you can hear the doubt in their voice. It makes you feel even more alone. And there you are, at 1 in the morning, staring at an error message that feels like a personal insult, like the universe is conspiring against you. I cried more times than I want to admit, tears of frustration, of feeling stupid, of feeling like I was wasting my time. But I kept going. I had to, because going back to that feeling of being on my bed, staring at that bank account, that was no longer an option. Then one night, after weeks of feeling like a failure, everything changed. I was working on this tiny, insignificant personal project. Just a simple little web page, and there was a bug. Something wasn't working right, and it had been driving me crazy for hours. I tried everything I could think of. I read forums, I rewatched tutorials, and finally, I tried one last thing, a random idea. I changed one line of code, hit refresh. And it worked. It actually worked. The bug was gone. It was such a small thing, a tiny victory in the grand scheme of things, but in that moment, it felt monumental. That tiny fix lit a spark inside of me. For the very first time, a thought flickered in my mind. Maybe I can do this. It wasn't a roaring fire of confidence. It was a tiny, fragile flame, but it was real. And it was enough to keep me moving forward. People see these learn to code in 3-month stories and think the climb is fast and steep. It isn't, at least, mine wasn't. My progress was painfully slow. It was frustrating. It was full of backtracking and moments where I felt like I was learning the same thing for the 10th time. I started by building small, terrible projects. A calculator that barely worked, a to-do list that would break if you looked at it wrong. Then I built slightly bigger, slightly less terrible projects. Most of them were clunky and ugly at first. But with every line of code I wrote, with every project I finished, no matter how bad it was, I became a little better than I was the day before. I wasn't becoming talented, I wasn't becoming a natural. I was just becoming persistent, and persistence, I learned, is its own kind of superpower. My first real break, my first job offer, it didn't come from a perfect resume or a degree from a fancy university. It came from someone who saw the one thing I had truly cultivated: consistency. This hiring manager looked past my non-traditional background. They didn't see a lack of a computer science degree, they saw a GitHub profile full of projects. They saw the commit history, the proof that I showed up, day after day, week after week. They saw the projects I kept going back to, improving them, refactoring the code, making them better. They saw the effort I refused to stop putting in. When they called me and offered me the junior developer position, I just broke down and cried, not just tears of joy, but tears of relief. Because in that moment, it wasn't just about getting a job, it was proof. Proof that I wasn't that same person anymore, sitting on the bed, feeling lost and hopeless. I had changed my own life. So here's the real truth, the part most people won't tell you in their success stories. I didn't make it because I was born for this. I didn't make it because coding came naturally to me. I made it because I kept going when it felt pointless. I made it through the nights when it felt impossible. I pushed through when the only reason to keep trying was that faint memory of whispering, I can't live like this anymore. I made it because I believed that something, anything, had to change. If you're watching this right now and you feel behind, if you feel lost, if you have that nagging voice in your head telling you that maybe you're not smart enough, please, listen to me. You do not need to be a genius to become a developer. You just need to start, and then you need to find a way to keep going. Even when it's slow, even when it's messy, even when it hurts and you feel like crying from frustration. Because on the other side of all that struggle, all that doubt, all that loneliness, is a version of you who made it. That version of you is real. I'm living proof. This is how I went from zero to developer. And if I can do it, I promise you, you can too. Thanks for watching. Keep going.